Welcome, everyone, to Facts and Friends, our weekly show where we bring the facts, the friends, all the things. I'm Rania Patrice, Interim Executive Director here at March for Science, and joining me today is our Director of Youth Engagement, Chet Monday. Hey, Chet.
Hey, Rania. Hey, everybody.
How's it going?
It's going pretty well. What about yourself?
Hanging in, doing all right. So this is a little fun fact about Chet and I. We first met during an all-student organizing team. He was part of an all-student organizing team during March for Our Lives Dallas back in March of 2018. Chet is very young. I don't like to talk about it. But back then, he was a senior in high school.
Yeah, much younger then. And Rania, you served as one of our professional advisors. You taught me most of the things that I know about social justice and the social justice movements that are really all around us. And I'm so grateful for that. And after the march, that same group, we transitioned to the student organizing team into a nonprofit called Students March, where we utilized media and in-person actions to rally support around justice issues that affected students, from gun violence to immigration and even science. Students March partnered with other cutting-edge nonprofits to stand for young people of all backgrounds.
Yeah, that's right. And one of our biggest campaigns was called We Are the 97. And the goal of that campaign was to advocate for federal legislation of universal background checks. And at the time, 97% of all Americans supported the idea of universal background checks. That was according to a 2018 Quinnipiac poll. And it really just drew legislative lines in the sand. It's one of the most powerful ways we can really kind of bring not just the conversation, but safety to the forefront and achieve the change that so many have been fighting for so long. And we've learned a lot of best practices for how we intend to make progress through advocacy. So I'm very, very excited we have a very special guest tonight, and I'm very excited about our special guest. Please join me in welcoming the father of Joaquin Oliver, the co-founder of Change the Ref, and a very dear friend of mine, Manuel Oliver. Hi, Manny.
How are you?
I'm okay. How about you?
You look great. You look great.
Oh.
I'm okay here in Florida with a nice weather. So yeah, I'm fine. Thank you for asking.
Well, I mean, we've done a lot of different things together, but this is a different audience, and I would love for you to just kick us right off and talk about Change the Ref, how it came about, and how just what the organization does is different from other GVP organizations. And GVP, I apologize for everybody out there, is gun violence prevention.
Right. Well, Change the Ref, it's the aftermath of the Portland shooting on our side. We lost our son, Joaquin Oliver, that day. He was one of the 17 victims. And we started a movement that will honor him and empower his legacy. He loved the game, basketball. So Change the Ref is an analogy between the referees from the basketball game and the referees in Washington, the ones that are supposed to make the right calls. That said, we haven't stopped since the last 3 years trying to bring another aspect, another point of view to the fight against gun violence. And that's what we do, and we're going to keep on doing it forever. And you have been helping us a lot, and this is another way of helping us, inviting us to your amazing podcast. So I'm so glad that I'm here.
I'm so glad you're here. And before I let Chet jump in, I'd love for you to just talk a little bit about your artivism. It's very incredible and interesting, and we're going to drop links into the chat so folks can see your work too. But I would just love for you to talk about how, I mean, you're an artist by trade, but you've really taken it to a different level. If you could just talk a little bit about that.
Absolutely. I was an artist before all this happened, and I didn't take the art to another level. It's more that the mission in my life totally changed. Like now I have, um, I only have attention and use of any talent or skills that I could have into fighting against gun violence, honoring my beautiful son Joaquin. And that goes back to your first question, which is what is it that we do different than other gun violence prevention groups? We use art. We use art and we use the advertising industry a lot. We work along with the most creative people around the world, not only in America, and we try to elevate the message of a better society that is actually not needing guns. It's more of getting fair enough with each other, treating us better, and expect a better future.
Amazing.
Yeah.
I also come from a family of artists, so it means so much to me to see this work actually being done. And on that note, why do you think it is that art is so important in movement building, and how is it a great tool for social progress?
Well, I don't. I believe that art is not something that just needs to look pretty so you can put in your living room. Um, we have a much deeper purpose as artists, and the way that we are using art is to make someone that is not here, which is Joaquin, actually make statements through the art, not only the one that I do, but many other artists that have been supporting our movement. So it is powerful, a very powerful tool, and it's also interesting the fact that you can impact people. The amount of time that you will need to dedicate talking to people to convince them, it will never be compared with that instant of impact that a nice piece of art could play with your mind. So it's a very efficient and direct way to express something.
Absolutely. And I just have to brag. It seems like a very weird word to use, but the ideas that you've come up with from last year, having an AI version of Joaquin encouraging people to go vote, to the walls. How many walls have you done across the country and in other countries too? I mean, we call them walls of demand, and it's just what you're talking about, that immediate impact, that like almost like a gut punch,
Yeah.
versus like even the words that I'm speaking now don't do it justice. And we're gonna, like I said, we're going to drop some links into the chat so people can see, but really it's been incredible to watch and see. It's like every time I think there's no more ideas. Nope, that is not true. There are more
That
ideas.
is
There's
not
more
true.
way to, yeah, there's more ways to reach people. It's amazing. And at March for Science, we talk about science being at the intersection of all social movements, because it explains the challenges we're facing as well as informs solutions and paths to progress. But some problems can be addressed with common sense. So, I mentioned earlier that 97% of the public support universal background checks. It's so common sense, yet we have a government that has not passed that legislation, and continues to really kind of ignore some of those common sense steps. What do you think is wrong with our system, and how do we fix it?
Well, I think it's way behind the actual government. I think this is something that is being non-government has been able to solve this. That's kind of what frustrates me more of all this situation. I had to go through the first 3 years after losing Joaquin, um, only dealing with the last administration, and I was very disappointed because I was not receiving the answers and the reaction that I was looking for. So my hope and all my effort is to see something happening now, and hopefully, if we show a little more bravery from our politicians, we are able to go ahead and at least pass that bill of the universal background check. That I do remember your campaign of the 97%. I loved it. Um, However, we all know that we have politicians that are receiving money from the NRA, and it's hard to find someone that is being loyal to the problem to just change its mind suddenly because we have a new administration. So all that it's a whole chaos that this country it's involved, and it's hard. It's a unique problem, for a first world country. It's a shame. It's incredible that we haven't been able to solve this like Australians did, like New Zealand did, like the United Kingdom did. So that is exactly what we try to do. Try to explain that we don't need to deal with this. This is very preventable. This is not a pandemic that came and it started. No, we built this. The American culture decided to build this attitude, this reaction, this industry, and support it. So the same way that we were able to put it together, now we have to unensemble it and just get rid of it.
Change the ref.
100%. Yeah.
Yes.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I love it so much. And so for our viewers out there that may have or not heard of Change the Ref before, could you just talk a little bit more about how they could help, how they could donate, and really get involved in the fight?
Sure. Change the Ref, it's actually an organization that is here to help others, all right? We travel when we can, and we visit other communities that have suffered this, and probably they don't have the platform or the media attention that we have been able to keep. We're very constant. Like, we have new content every week. We have a newsletter that will let you know in this last week what we did, and it's a lot. So ways to get involved is just to search for us and follow our social media accounts and join the force. Any share, any comment, anything that aligns with what we're trying to do is more than welcome. And of course, we're a nonprofit, 501c3. Any donation will make it even better. But this is an ethical problem, okay? So the same way that I hate the fact that huge gun lobby guys and the gun manufacturers are giving money to politicians, this is not something that you can solve the same way. This is just social pressure. We need to stay out there. We need to be rebels. We cannot take this as a light thing. I refuse to pass the page and say, okay, this is something that happens in America. I decided to move here, so I got to deal with it. No, this is only happening in America, and we need to stop this from happening. And maybe that's why I moved here. So I'm trying to get my life into a better sense of what's going on, and this is what we do along with Joaquin, not for Joaquin or by Joaquin, along with Joaquin. We work together, and I refuse to stop being Joaquin's dad, and Patricia refuses to stop being Joaquin's mom. We're here. We're going to protect our baby, and we're going to, in a very loud and rebel and disruptive way. So now you have to deal with us.
And it's changetheref.org for anybody viewing, anybody tuning in later. Changetheref.org. You can take a look at the work and make a donation and sign up for the newsletter that Manuel mentioned. It's amazing, truly incredible, the work that Manuel and Patricia do. So please check that out. And I do want to ask you one last question that kind of relates to everything we've been talking about. We saw earlier that the Biden administration pledged $5 billion to address gun violence in the hardest hit communities. And there's some great work that's going to be done, that's for sure. But it's only a step right? So I'd love for you to just share some of the other things that you feel need to be done in order to address the gun violence epidemic in this country.
It's a good step. I mean, we're very happy for that. It's an actual, it's happening. So that's good. It's not just an idea. It's not a proposal. It's actually, this is what we need to do, and let's do it. So with that same attitude, that same intention, we should address the big picture of the gun violence problem. I keep saying that it's amazing how our country got together to fight back COVID-19. And all science were out there, and we got the vaccine, not one, but 3. Other nations are not even close to that. But we were able to show that we really are a powerful nation. And once we work together with the same intention, which is saving lives, same intention of saving lives, we can make things happen. So that same effort must be moved to the gun violence problem. No one is working on a vaccine for gun violence, only a few of us. So, and we don't want this to hit more people. So then you get involved. If that's the option, then we're in a terrible place. So the only thing to do here is to use, we prove each other that we can do things together to save lives. Well, now that we learned the lesson the hard way, let's apply that same intention, power, and willing to do good to others, worry about others. I mean, I cannot bring back Joaquin. I'm not doing this for my son. I wish I was able to be involved in this movement before February 14th, but guess what? I was not. So now I'm working with Patricia and with many others to save other kids' lives. So I think that's the way to go. We need to think as a society that we can help each other instead of go ahead and buy a gun to protect from each other.
Mm-hmm. I love you. I can't thank you enough for spending some time with us today, and just everything you and Patty are doing, just like you said, to help other people's children, to help other communities, to help other people's loved ones so they don't have to experience what you experience every day. And to everyone out there who's tuning in, remember, we all have a part to play in this work. We all have a voice. We all have something that we're good at. Please check out all of the incredible things Change the Ref has been doing at changetheref.org. Drop some dollars there if you can. Sign up for the newsletter. Thank you so much again, Manuel. Chet, always a pleasure. And thanks for everyone out there for tuning in. Until next time.
Thank you both. You're great. This was awesome. Great way to start the weekend. Love you, Ryan.